We deserve to not sleep with cockroaches.
Presented by Still a Frog.
The dog sitter canceled the day before we were supposed to leave for the beach. COVID. Fucking COVID. My husband Liam and I decided to go down to the shore a day earlier than the caravan of parents, in-laws, cousins, siblings, and son plus one that would be arriving on Sunday. This way, we figured, we could get the bulk of the shopping done, unpack, stake our claim on the best bedroom, and maybe, just maybe, even get to experience a romantic night in our beach house alone. The place cost a lot of money. We should, after all, get to have one night in it by ourselves, right? I am, of course, attempting to justify here. My therapist would have a field day with this one. You don't have to explain to anyone, she'd say in her hard-to-decipher accent. French, Swedish, Lithuanian, maybe. You have earned the right to act in accordance with your feelings. Okay, so my feelings want to be family-free for one night. Enter the dog problem. The aforementioned sitter has been our clutch canine nanny for 4 years now, a veritable Mrs. Doubtfire for dogs. I swear, Pumpkin, that's our mini doodle, comes home more intuitively aware of the world, following one of his stays with her. However, Mrs. Doubtfire, as sadly mentioned, tested positive. I was half tempted to ask if I could actually see the results to confirm the veracity of her excuse, but Liam convinced me that was a tad paranoid. To which I replied, well, now we're a tad fucked, aren't we, dear? The house we rented was not pet-friendly. Fortunately, the highly recommended Howleywood Hotel and Day Spa for Dogs had an opening for the week, but not till Sunday. So I reluctantly suggested we just skip the indulgent bonus honeymoon night and drive down with everyone else. But we planned on Saturday, and I really want to go, Liam said. I was looking forward to our special night. His sly grin, coupled with the hint of whininess, was hard to resist. Impish/vulnerable. I liked that about my husband, even 22 years later. The plan at which we finally arrived. We splurge a bit, keep our Saturday tete-a-tete, and move it to a hotel, a pet-friendly hotel, so that Pumpkin could nest on the adjacent bed and, well, watch. Hey, you take what you can get. Except, important caveat here, hotels during peak vacation season around this beach town, or any beach town for that matter, are not on the cheap side. We were talking upwards of $600 or $700 a night. This seemed a bit beyond a mere splurge. $600 for one night? Liam huffed. Like just a Fairfield Inn? Like a plain old Fairfield Inn, at least according to Expedia, I said. You've got to be kidding. Well, then maybe we should just go up on Sunday, Liam surrendered. No, I put my foot down. Now, I was the one determined to stick to our plan. Keeping the fires alive takes work, and this was part of the work we needed to do. Not that Liam and I were headed for divorce court or anything like that. It's just that after 20 years of marriage, sex can sometimes, or a lot of times, become another item on your to-do list. With a little bit of sleuthing and hours of online searching, I came up with the Aloha Motel, 20 miles away from our intended destination, but at a reassuring $310 per night, definitely doable. Granted, it rated a moderate 2.95 stars. However, I figured for one night, we could hack it. Aloha! Here we come. The car packed, Pumpkin harnessed and leashed, and we were off. The good thing was, this place we were staying was a relatively short drive away. According to Google Maps, we were supposed to be on the road for approximately 2 hours and 39 minutes. Liam, who stubbornly believed he knew better than a NASA-built satellite launched deep into the galaxy, opted for a shortcut. But I digress. Many wives in my position can probably write the conclusion to this saga. Nearly 6 hours later, we arrive at the motel. Whereas we'd planned to be there by 5 p.m., between Liam's brilliant detour and a later-than-anticipated start thanks to a doggy digestive problem courtesy of the Benadryl we'd given a car-challenged Pumpkin, we arrived closer to 11. We were exhausted, but still bound and determined to rekindle that romance. Love troopers to the end. With Liam walking Pumpkin, I went to check in. From the outside, the Aloha Motel looked passable. The guy manning the desk was busily slurping up what looked to be like lo mein noodles and did not pause to acknowledge my presence until he'd successfully inhaled half the dish. Can I help you? Checking in, I answered. He opened a book. Let me say that again. He opened a book, nary a computer to be found. Last name? Robinson? After several loud, crinkly page turns, the man found our name. He then reached over to where I stood and grabbed a business card, which I thought he might hand to me. Instead, proceeded to clean his teeth with the business card. Sorry, ma'am, got a big piece of steak stuck in my tooth. Don't you just hate that? Yes. Yes, I do. Okie dokie. Well, looks like you're going to be at 165 all the way toward the end. Keep the keys on you at all times. You lose it, you pay $100. He handed me the key. A key, not a card or a fob. Oh, boy. Sign here. He turned the grease-stained guest book toward me, wiped a pen off on his pants, and handed it to me. Apparently, this place had opted to ditch pandemic protocol. And we're off. Second honeymoon, here we come. I wandered toward Liam and Punkin, who was busily investigating the area with his nose. Shaking off the seedy motel vibes, I was still looking forward to a night of renewed passion. As my therapist was fond of reminding, a marriage requires a commitment to not only each other, but to the relationship as a living, breathing organism in and of itself. Sometimes I couldn't help but think of an amoeba, given that particular description. My Marriage, the Amoeba. Intriguing title for a memoir. Anywho, soldiering on, I was preparing for a night of explosiveness and fireworks, a night of unbridled lust, maybe even some Pornhub-worthy experimentation. My recent purchase from Betty's Toy Box, the Rock and Ride vibrator with optional remote control, was guaranteed to give her a mind-blowing, out-of-body kind of orgasm while providing him with some sort of pleasure too. Couple that with the stranded in lace crocheted teddy I bought, and well, this had better be a night that my husband and I never forget. We got Punkin settled in. I turned out the lights and lit a candle I brought from home. I started the sexy and steamy list I'd created on my Spotify that morning and went to slip into the light pink teddy that admittedly was a bit trickier to put on than anticipated. Hello, gorgeous. It's been a while, he said in some sort of strange Cary Grant meets Michael Scott tone of voice. You don't look so bad yourself. Okay, so my erotic banter needed some work too. I got us something, I said, whipping out the remote control. Really? And I wasn't sure if the inflection in his voice just then was one of confusion or delight or quite possibly terror. Yeah, I think you hold it like this, I tried to demonstrate. And after a few more glasses of wine, get to be the recipient? Really? He parroted. Yes, really. And then I whispered in his ear, describing the recommended insertion procedure, coming off far more clinical than sensual. And if you're thinking that nothing about this sounds remotely sexy, you're probably right. Really? He said again. Apparently, I'd broken Liam. I have to admit, I was kind of nervous as hell myself about this whole experiment. So I poured a couple more glasses of wine. I drank quickly and poured again. Liam undressed and jumped into bed. I sexy swaggered my way over, or my version thereof. I rolled back the blanket, slipped in next to my very ready, if not a bit bewildered husband, my sex toy in hand, when Punkin suddenly perked up. He dashed off his assigned bed and headed straight for the corner. He then flipped around and headed for another corner of the room. He whined loudly, running in circles. What the fuck is wrong with that dog? Liam said, extremely annoyed. I can't see anything. Hang on a sec. I flipped on the bedside light. What the? The ground was covered in them. Thousands, scurrying about. Cockroaches as far as the eye could see. Oh my God, I screamed, now for some reason strangely self-conscious about how I must appear in this lace sex get-up thing amidst legions of cockroaches. Motherfucker, Liam cursed. Less at the cockroaches, more at the inevitable cessation of pleasure this infestation signified. What do we do? Well, we can't stay here, I stated, rather dumbfounded that he figured what do we do an appropriate question. It's like 1 a.m. And? Where are we going to go? How about anywhere but here? I fired back. You saw the other places. They were like 600 plus per night. Okay, I love my husband. I have somewhat happily embraced his faults and foibles, but this time I lost it. There are hundreds of thousands of cockroaches surrounding us right now. We're about to become their next meal once they've eaten our dog. Are you fucking serious, Liam? Can't we just see if they have another room? Another... This man was picking meat from his teeth with a business card. This is probably their goddamn honeymoon suite. But we can't just... This vacation is already costing us a fortune. We can barely afford it as it is. Now add another $600 or $700 for a hotel room and... He whined, no longer in that cute way of his. I took a deep breath. This man means well, I kept repeating to myself. I then calmly channeled my inner therapist. Liam, my love, father of my child, heart of my hearts, I know how much everything costs, and I know $600 seems unreasonable, but let me put it this way. We've worked hard. We have good jobs. We deserve a true vacation. I, for one, deserve not to sleep with cockroaches. And for some reason, that logic made sense to him. I think when phrased just so, some logic is indisputable. We slid the $100 room key under the office door and got the fuck out of there. Sayonara, Aloha Motel. We drove about 30 more minutes until we found a hotel that would take a couple of cockroach-weary, sexually frustrated, exhausted travelers, and their little dog too. And yes, the total cost with taxes and fees was nearly $700. The rockin' ride never did make another appearance that night, or any other night of the vacation. In fact, it was retired to the special sex toy drawer and has yet to see the light of day. I'm not worried, though. Of course, marriage, in part, is about committing to physical intimacy. We'll eventually figure it out. We always do. Marriage can also be about the little breakthroughs, too, like getting your husband to agree that you both deserve better than to sleep with cockroaches.